played in Uruguay. And a good look at Meg Bodie, the junior from Lone Tree, Colorado. Northwestern in their home purple, Stanford in their visiting whites. And Northwestern off to a great start. Of course, Stanford as well, 5-0. And included in Stanford's season, they played China. Now remember, in 1999, China and the USA played in the World Cup final. The way I understand it, it was China's full national team. Stanford beat them after their first game of the regular season.
We weren't kidding when they said they're off to a great start, the Stanford side, and we talked about it at the top, but this is a program who year after year just produces big-time seasons, and this Northwestern side, like you said, they're trying to get up there right there with them.
Cesar Ibarra, the man in the middle, the referee. Sent across. Be a corner kick early doors here. This field right on the banks of Lake Michigan, and of course we continue with what has been unseasonably hot weather, but I think it's going to be pretty pleasant tonight.
Absolutely, with that lovely lake breeze that comes right off onto that field too. These night games are beautiful.
Corner kick, Stanford early, headed out of there by Northwestern. Great job by Ella Haas. And if that name rings a bell, she had a sister that played for Purdue, keeping it in the Big Ten family. 3 in the back for Northwestern. Nicole Doucette, Emma Phillips, and Donica Austin. Austin has it now, and Austin is, I think, one of the best players in the country. She's a really talented player.
She is, and she will get up that right side. Even with the 3-back, you'll see some of that athleticism and that ability to just kind of break through lines.
That was played to Josie Alessino, who's off to a big-time start with 3 goals and 5 assists. Her dad, by the way, played at Michigan State soccer, and her mom ran track at Oakland. Speaking of track, Stanford can really run it. They're extremely pacey. They always are. And a shot from distance, just missing right there, as that is Julia Leontini, who is a junior out of Danville, California.
Alrighty, we're seeing so much sophistication in the movement of Stanford, and we talked about it, but Northwestern, they've got those 3 in the back, and then they sit in a box in the midfield. So defensively, they have to be incredibly organized in their midfield space to be able to screen the line of the back 3, because Stanford's got those 3 up top that are just going to cause a ton of trouble for the back line.
Abby Grubel, who played in the midfield last year, now playing up top, as Paul Ratcliffe making a point of telling us this is a completely different team from last year that was knocked out in the first round by Santa Clara, and by Paul Ratcliffe's standards, a disappointing season a year ago. And into the hands there of Riley Fitzpatrick, who is a freshman. She'll start, but then Mia Rabin, a transfer from Wake Forest, will play the second half. That's how they've done every game so far this year. They're off to a great start. If it's not broke, let's keep on rolling with it. So we'll see Rabin in the second half. We're seeing more and more of that this year, feels like. 2 goalkeepers. Western. Both these teams scoring a lot of goals, which Northwestern has always been really stingy defensively. They have a 176-minute shutout streak right now, and you feel like Northwestern over the years has kind of been known as goalkeeper U, and they've had the great defenders and Sharples and Davison and that lockdown D, but now I feel like not only do they have the stingy D, but they're starting to score goals.
They are, and in that last game, especially just against Xavier, we saw some pretty special movements up top from this group. I think they're starting to figure out that formation. They've got those wingers that really dominate in the wide space, and this formation is hard.
Big time shot there for Northwestern, and carried away there by Ryan Campbell, the junior from Laguna Beach.
Here's a look at a little bit of that movement here. Takes it across her body. And that was Araya Del Carmen. Finds it on her right foot. Ryan Campbell does a good job, like you said, to parry that around the goalpost.
Ryan Campbell, not related to Jane Campbell, one of the greats out of Stanford. Ryan Campbell from Laguna Beach, California, part of the U14, 15, 16, and 17 national team program. Going to deal with this corner kick right now. Northwestern, top of the 18. They got a chance there. Second shot, and right back to Campbell. That was Bodie on the shot, and Northwestern playing exactly the way Michael Moynihan said they would play. They were not going to back down. They were not going to bunker. They're ready to play Stanford.
Absolutely, and those were some pretty clear shots. I think they were almost surprised at the opportunities that they just saw in the box. But again, this Northwestern side, their movement is at a different level this year. I think their commitment to keep the ball and slow the game down a little bit is different than we've seen.
This will fall over the top to Del Carmen. Del Carmen, 2 goals and 2 assists on the season already. Del Carmen, a 4-year class president at her high school, Christopher High School. Her mom, Darlene, played soccer at the University of Virginia. That'll be a familiar theme today, as the parents of these athletes were also great athletes, and a lot of them strong academic background as well. It was fascinating kind of diving into the bios of all of these athletes, their class presidents, their valedictorians, their salutatorians. I mean, it was like reading your bio, Jackie, you know what I mean?
I can't admit that, but no, these are some impressive student athletes. Some of the top in the country that you're watching on this field right now.
Paul Ratcliffe sitting on 399. That's right, going for win number 400. His 20th season on the farm at Stanford, where he's won 3 national championships, and he's produced 6 Mac Hermann Trophy winners. We'll have more on that at halftime. Paul Ratcliffe won a national championship as a player at UCLA under the great and late Ziggy Schmid. May he rest in peace, with some of the icons of men's soccer. Paul Ratcliffe has dedicated his life now to the women's game, and I think the women's game is the better for it.
Absolutely. We talked about it, but all that Stanford has brought in terms of what they attract from a player on and off the field.
Northwestern into the 18 again. Bodie sent across, trying to find Gilbertson, as Gilbertson is one of the wing backs, as they go with 3 in the back, the 2 wing backs, and that box in the middle, similar to the Chicago Red Stars, a perennial power in the NWSL, as that was Meg Bodie who will earn it. Speaking of the NWSL, Meg Bodie's sister, Tess, started for the North Carolina Courage on Sunday, her first game starting in the regular season, and was huge in the win over Gotham. She played at Duke collegiately, and her sister now a star for Northwestern. Speaking of stars, Alessino is having a great season. Tied for the lead in points in the Big Ten. 3 goals and 5 assists. Alessino sent across. Campbell can't get to it. Jackie, there's no goals so far, but this game has had great pace, and Northwestern has been dangerous.
Absolutely. Stanford's kind of started off on the right foot, and then Northwestern quickly has worked their way in. Again, when they can get their wingers up high, they have the ability to pin you and make it hard to get out of your end, and they're making the most of their opportunities.
Stanford started the season, they beat Sacramento State 5-0. As I mentioned, they snuck in that exhibition game against the Chinese national team, won that game. Then they beat San Fran 3-0. They beat Santa Barbara 5-1. They beat Penn State on the farm 2-0, and then Cal Poly 4-1. This is their first trip. They played all those games at the farm, as they'll stay in the Chicago area and take on DePaul on the 11th. Stanford allowed 2 total shots versus Cal Poly, and they've already allowed 3 this half, just to give you an idea of Northwestern being ready to play. Stanford. Building it out of the back as Northwestern drops a little bit. Michael Moynihan in his 11th season. Of course, we'll have more on halftime, but his mom, an instrumental figure at UW-Milwaukee, then his sister, Sue, as well, and then Michael Moynihan taking over that program with David Nikolic, who was his longtime assistant at Northwestern. He is now the head coach at UIC, so now on the bench with Michael Moynihan is his brother-in-law, Rich Manning, the 19-year top man at Utah. What a great pickup. You lose arguably your best friend, your sidekick, giving him a chance to be a head coach at UIC, and you bring in your brother-in-law, who, by the way, told me on the United Soccer Coaches podcast that he went through a rigorous interview process. There he is right there, Rich Manning, 19 years as the top man at Utah. Of course, Utah played Stanford in the Pac-12.
Absolutely, and like you said, not an easy replacement, but sounds like it was a pretty easy slide in terms of what you lose versus what you get.
This is only the second time these two teams have met. Stanford beat Northwestern 6-0 at Palo Alto on September 4th, 2011. There it is, Stanford just with that 6-0 win way back in 2011. Northwestern has never been afraid to play powers. Last year they played North Carolina in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. And in my opinion, the best player on the field for that game was Donica Austin. She was an absolute beast. North Carolina did win the game, but it was not an easy win for North Carolina, and last year was kind of an adjustment year for Northwestern. Now I feel like they're back. And if you remember just a few years ago when they had Kayla Sharples and Hannah Davison and Marissa Vigiano, they were legit.
Absolutely, and we saw some of that rebuilding for a while. And, you know, when you're in that non-conference mode, you want to be able to have a game that's going to pick you apart, that's going to test you, that's going to challenge you, because when you go into conference, you want to be able to have those kinks out. You want to see what you need to work on, where your strengths and weaknesses are, and that's what you have this game right here, just to see where the holes are, where you can get better before you go into that middle chunk of your season.
And then, Jackie, tactically, I love the fact that you also call Red Stars games, because Michael Moynihan was really excited about, with this personnel, going to the formation that the Red Stars use. And I don't know about you, but I'm certainly impressed with what I'm seeing.
It's a hard, when you have the right personnel and the right people in those spots, it's a hard formation to break down, because you've got to be super athletic in the back to be able to match and just have three, but then you've got to have two wingers that can cover a ton of space and two midfielders that will sit and be disciplined and are physical and can break things up and are organized to be able to screen that back line, because if you're just matching 3v3, you are vulnerable in the back. So those midfielders are a huge piece of these formations.
For the biggest Northwestern experience, there's no plus like home. The Big Ten Plus app, powered by Big Ten Network. Your favorite Wildcats content, streaming and on demand, plus the iconic games and exclusive events only on the Big Ten Plus app. I love my Big Ten Plus app. I got a whole lot of the Northwestern Xavier game where Northwestern dominated number 19 Xavier. I mean, they bossed that game.
They really did, and they had some beautiful goals from it as well.
Northwestern has had some beautiful goals this season. We'll show you some of those through this game, including a thrilling bicycle kick, as Stanford trying to build it out of the back. Northwestern matching wits with the number 6 team in the country and 3-time national champion Stanford Cardinal. "15 minutes in already." shots in this game coming in the first 5 minutes, and no shots since, but it has still been end-to-end, everything but the shots. A little touch there, but one back by Northwestern. It really did make sense to focus on the battle of the midfield. We are seeing it right here at Martin Stadium. Stanford, middle of the park. That was Angie. Gets it out wide. A little bit of a deflection. Headed away by Austin. Great awareness by Austin to find her teammate. One back by Stanford with some pressure. It's Kennedy Wesley, but one right back by Northwestern. The Wildcats lose it. They are winning it back. Michael Moynihan talking about capitalizing on their opportunities, and he also talked about being ruthless. I am seeing that ruthless spirit.
I feel like that's one of the things that Northwestern has missed in the last couple of years. When they had the Davison and the Sharples, they had that bite. They won their physical battles, and when they lost those two, they kind of lost that physical toughness, and you can see it starting to come back in this game.
Northwestern has won their last 4 non-conference home matches. This would be one of those that would catch the attention of everybody. There's a shot from way downtown. And of course, it's the player that we featured. She is one of the 60 players on the preseason Mac Herman watch list. Maya Doms, the senior from Davis, California. Big time talent, as I mentioned, played for the USA in the U17 World Cup. Doms from Davis, California, Davis Senior High School. 19 goals and 11 assists in her career. 11 goals last year. 2 goals and 2 assists already to start this year. Northwestern trying to get back-to-back wins over a ranked opponent. Taking down Xavier in their last game and now facing number 6 Stanford. Good job by Stanford. Now Doms will let the ball do the work, plays it back. The flag is up. Jackie, every single ball is contested by both teams. There's nobody open. I mean, every ball is being challenged.
It's that night game. It's a huge matchup. Big time powerhouse in Stanford coming in to Northwestern. It's a game that you should easily get excited for, and you can see these players and the anticipation and the intensity that this match is bringing.
Donica Austin, big-time basketball player in high school, Jenison High School in Michigan. Middle of the park, Brugel, who has a chance to move up the field this year, played deeper last year as one of the holding mids. Kennedy Wesley. Stanford will go really deep, as Paul Radcliffe admitted that he's got a lot of players that could and should be starting, but you know, you can only put 11 out there. As you take a look at Bodie, right, number 34. Katerina Regazzoni, the freshman from Switzerland, part of the full Switzerland national team and part of the U20 team that won the FIFA Youth Cup. What a pickup by way of Switzerland to play in tandem with Rowan Lappy, the senior from Pennsylvania. Those two are the players that we started with, and they really have changed the dynamic of this team. This is where Northwestern has been dangerous. They got a goal from distance. Both goals were from distance. Lappy hit a bomb and then served one in, and Phillips got her head on it, who's been incredible. Phillips, by the way, with a big-time bicycle kick as well, and she found Del Carmen for the 2 goals against Xavier.
And they've been goals that it almost looks like they've trained them, especially that second goal where they played that ball into the back post. It was a header in. All the runs were where they were supposed to be. This team just looks like they're on the same page and everything's firing like it's supposed to be. They're bought in and they're committed to what this Northwestern side wants to do this year.
watching the Stanford subs, we can see that Paul Ratcliffe is getting ready to get, I think, at least 3 in. Bodie. I said the name Bodie a whole lot on Sunday night as her sister now making her way in the NWSL. Which is another theme for Michael Moynihan, as he has said that he wants to be the Stanford of the Midwest. He also is proud of the fact that, yes, these young women are going to be doctors and lawyers and CEOs, but they're starting to produce big-time professional soccer players.
Absolutely. Marissa Vigiano is one that comes to mind right off the bat because she's had a big-time career in the NWSL, but lots of players going overseas to continue their career. Kayla Sharples with Chicago Red Stars. They're producing a ton that go on to play post-collegiately.
2018, with those players that we talked about, Northwestern started at 5-0-1. A win today would match that start as their best start ever. Putting pressure on that back line, Elise Evans, the first-year player out of Redwood City, California, and Woodside High School. Good pressure coming from Del Carmen. Jackie, you had wondered what kind of press Northwestern was going to bring, and they're bringing it.
They're high pressing. They're getting numbers forward to join in that high press. Their lines are connected when they're high pressing. They're not disjointed. They're not getting one line beat and then having to scramble to recover. This group looks very together, and they've made it hard for Stanford to break through their lines. And we've seen Stanford have to hit a lot of long diagonal balls because of it.
Each team with 3 shots by 3 different players. As we're almost halfway through the first half, Campbell is way off her line to bring it in. Campbell, 0.43 goals against average, came into this game with 9 saves and that perfect 5-0 record. Taken away again. Every ball being challenged by both teams. Haas looking to play Del Carmen. Del Carmen stays with it. Spins out. Del Carmen, push from behind. That's got to be at the spot. There's got to be a yellow card too, I believe, as Del Carmen, the senior from Gilroy, California, a yellow card came with it. And how about the Northwestern Wildcats?
Rhea Del Carmen, what an individual effort. This ball comes bouncing into her feet. She takes it off, controls it, knocks down one, does a crafty little move to slip herself in between the 2 defenders, is on free to goal and then gets clipped. It's a professional foul. But Rhea Del Carmen was free on goal before that foul.
Bonnie Brandt with the yellow, and I think what Del Carmen was trying to say there was Brandt was the last line. I did see a defender way over to the right side, but it's not like we've never seen a red there, yeah. So Northwestern will give it to Lappy. Without question, Michael Moynihan said Rowan Lappy, the leader of this team, and Rowan Lappy with a chance to give Northwestern an early lead against the number 6 team in the country. Lappy on the whistle. Lappy, yes! 1-0 Northwestern.
Calmly steps up, and if you could see Ryan Campbell, she kind of takes that step to her left. Rowan Lappy keeps her head up the entire time, reads it, slots that right into the left side netting calmly and with confidence.
Rowan Lappy's 2 goals, 3 assists on the season. Pretty sure that goal will put her among the league number 1 all by herself in points for the Big Ten. As we mentioned, Northwestern always known for their defense, but they have been attack-minded this year And how about the fight right there, though, of Araya Del Carmen to earn that penalty?
What an individual effort by her to take on not one, but two very good Stanford center backs.
Bodie, there's Del Carmen again. Lappy tried to bomb it long to find Gilbertson. Cleaned up there by Evans. Now Stanford. So Lappy now on a 3-game point streak. I mean, nothing is easy for Stanford right now.
Northwestern doing such a good job at keeping numbers around the ball and keeping their lines really tight, because they're getting that initial high press pressure, but then right away that second, third wave are coming in to make it hard for Stanford to get anything going, any sort of rhythm offensively.
Northwestern on top of Stanford. Andrea Kitahara has come into the game for Stanford. She was one of the subs. And there she is, getting ready to head over and take the corner kick. You see, digging in there is Riley Fitzpatrick, freshman from Ashburn, Virginia, Independence High School. She'll play the first half, and Mia Rabin will play the second half. Headed out of there by Northwestern, and a whistle as the Northwestern player goes down. It'll return to the Wildcats. First goal that Stanford has allowed in the first half this year, as they've been outscoring the opposition 10-0 coming in. Now it's 10-1, and Northwestern with a 1-0 lead. Michael Moynihan. Jackie, you and I were talking. We had a good feeling about this for Northwestern. Based on Michael Moynihan's confidence, he's kind of a quiet man, right, over the years, right? But he really opened up about this team, how excited he was.
He did, and especially that paired with their performance against Xavier. I think this team just looks like they are confident. They want to go, and we haven't really seen a Northwestern side with that kind of energy, that bite to them, and this is a team that's really fun to watch so far.
So we'll see what Stanford can do after making several subs. Lumi Kosmeyer has also come into the game for Radcliffe, and there's Kosmeyer wearing number 33, 6 feet tall. Stanford on the right side, trying to get it into Kosmeyer. Boy, Northwestern defensively too, they just seem like their positioning is really good around the ball, and Paul Radcliffe, I think that expression says it all right now. Like, whoa, what are we doing here? As you see right there, shots on goal, almost 15 a game, and they lead the nation, but Northwestern has not allowed them, and there's two reasons for that, Jackie. I think you'll agree. One, their defense has been solid, but one way to avoid shots is to possess the ball and possess it with purpose, and Northwestern has done that.
Absolutely, and I think Moynihan nailed it, because Rowan Lappy and Katarina Regazzoni have really been big time in that holding mid role, that double pivot, because they've been so good defensively. You can see them pulling the strings and communicating, getting everybody in line, but then they also have that offensive ability and attack, and they've been really good as they go forward and set play from those spots.
So another change as Jasmine Ike will come in. And Madison Eisen will also come in for Brandt. Remember, it was Brandt who got the yellow card. Ooh. There's a push from behind again. We'll see if there's a card here. And it looks like Northwestern starting to get under the skin a little bit here of Stanford.
Yeah, there's a little bit of frustrations coming out. That was a full-fledged shove right in the back. It's a pass back into Fitzpatrick from Phillips right there. It was a pretty clean shot into the back.
There's 17 minutes remaining in the game. Austin with the throw-in. Second ball won by Stanford. Kitahara had it for a moment. Rubenstein gives it up. Good ball in for Stanford. Open. And a great close by Austin, closing down on Doms. What a wonderful soccer match we are witnessing here in Evanston. Good hustle by Stanford to run it down. Kitahara sends it in. And Northwestern there again, this time with the 1-0 lead, they'll send it long. Under 16 minutes remaining here in the first half. One again by Alessino. Gilbertson, the right wing back, is part of this really exciting 3-6-1 formation. And part of that excitement is the fact that Del Carmen can play that lone soldier up top and beat two players at one time and earn a PK.
Absolutely. You can't do this formation if you don't have somebody that can hold up the ball offensively, but also somebody that can cover the ground and set that first line of defense defensively. And she's done a really good job on both sides of the ball tonight.
Del Carmen checking all the way back. Confidence rules the day, and Northwestern playing with an abundance of confidence.
They are, and it's not just individual players that look confident on the ball, because most of them do, but it's a whole team dynamic. This group just has a lot of belief, you feel.
Sending it long is the goal scorer from the penalty spot. Lappy send it all the way to the Stanford goalkeeper, Ryan Campbell. Campbell, part of the USA youth system at the U14 level, U15, U16, and U17, which is standard fare for Stanford. They have always seemed to find the top U.S. youth internationals, and right now there's essentially 12 players for Stanford that are in the player pool for the U.S. national team. Three national championships for Paul Radcliffe, 5 finals, 9 college cups, 9 Pac-12 titles, as they've been doing it right on the farm under the direction of Paul Radcliffe. To be fair, they've been doing it right for a long time. I think there's a player named Julie Foudy that was pretty good.
They have produced quite the talent from that school.
There's 13 minutes remaining. Trying to run it down is Regazzoni. As you can see, Regazzoni, who is not afraid to push forward, so Michael Moynihan will use her in different ways as now she gets back into that holding spot, as Northwestern with those wing backs tying it into their midfield, as there's Regazzoni already back to that holding mid after making that run. We'll bring it back to Austin.
Regazzoni, but that was Doucette that was all the way forward, and in a 3-back, those 3-backs typically stay home, but you're seeing a ton of interchangeability with this Northwestern side. Regazzoni went up, Bodie went back and held her spot for her. Doucette came up, Haas came back.
Lappy everywhere as she drops it to Alessino. And another foul here against Stanford. Not happy with the call is Ike. Jasmine Ike, a first-year player from Palo Alto, as Lappy, number 17. She looks like a leader.
I was going to say, she's got a little swagger to her.
Her swagger reminds me of Sam Coffey a little bit, the former Penn State star who's now made an appearance for the U.S. national team. What a story that is. Speaking of Penn State stars, Melissa Hayes-Charlo, who played 3 years under Erica Dombach, is now the new assistant for Paul Ratcliffe. As Stanford looking for the equalizer here with 11 minutes remaining. She replaced Marguerite Awazaza, who's now the head coach at UCLA, and has UCLA at #1 in the country. UCLA, of course, will enter the Big Ten down the road. That'll be exciting on multiple levels. And there we go. So they're right, not with the hat on, but right next to her is Melissa Hayes-Charlo, who, I don't know if you remember this, but Allie Long started at Penn State. She went to North Carolina, and Melissa Hayes went to Penn State because Melissa Hayes played for Erica Dombach on the youth national team and had 3 wonderful years at Happy Valley. I think she played against you.
She did, yeah.
Del Carmen, Gilbertson, and offside. Trying to test that line was Northwestern. There's Lappy again, cleaning it up. Oh, great work here by Stanford, sticking with it. Stanford with a chance to tie. And that time, Lumi Kosmeyer with the breakaway, with the shot. Looked like almost like a toe poke shot right there, but not on frame.
Here's a look at that Kosmeyer chance again. Emma Phillips just gets the ball tangled up at her feet, and Kosmeyer sees where Fitzpatrick is on the goal line, tries to kind of hit that with the outside of her foot, put a little spin and bend on it, but just doesn't make the right contact with it.
Northwestern leading Stanford. Here in Evanston, 1-0. Middle of the park, referee letting them play. Austin pushing forward. Austin, one of the center backs in that 3-back system. This team is moving together both ways, both sides of the ball. Sunday, you can stream women's soccer live on the Big Ten Network Plus app as the Wildcats host Butler. As we said, there's no plus like home. Download the Big Ten Plus app and subscribe today. Right now, Northwestern trying to focus on the perennial power that is Stanford, and doing a pretty good job as they'll earn a corner kick here. Paige Miller, the senior from Wheaton, Illinois. Talked a lot about Stanford's depth. Now Northwestern showing some of their depth as well, which is going to be important because if Stanford brings all those players in, you need to be able to keep your legs, and Michael Moynihan matching wits right now with Paul Ratcliffe.
Good. Ken, be ready for 34, Ken.
Still loose. Oh, the goal was open as Campbell came out to punch it away. Northwestern dangerous on set pieces this season, and they almost finished another one.
This ball gets sent way deep into the back of the 6. Ryan Campbell comes way off of her line, and there's an open goal that Regazzoni had a half chance on.
turned over again. Northwestern right at Campbell. How many times has Northwestern forced turnovers against this very explosive Stanford team?
They're doing a really good job at pushing Stanford wide and then just bringing a ton of numbers around the ball. You saw it right there.
Lead into space, trying to find Paige Miller off the bench, and Stanford just knocks it out of bounds. Gilbertson, one of the wing backs, throws it into Miller. Northwestern looking good here. The last time Stanford was held scoreless in the first half of the regular season was October 28th of last season when they lost 1-0 at number 5 UCLA. Stanford still has 6 minutes to find that equalizer, but the team wearing the purple uniforms, Northwestern, looking strong here. Now Stanford, a little better spacing here. They'll try to drop it over the top. Doms will run it down. Now Doms looking for some support from Montoya, as Doms will earn a corner kick. It'll be a corner kick Stanford. Allie Montoya, the freshman, her father, a big-time influence in women's soccer, Albertine Montoya, who coached in the WPS for the Bay Area team, and now is the interim coach for the Washington Spirit. And his daughter has had a brace already and started some games as a first-year player. Albertine Montoya, one of the all-time great people in the women's game. Michael Moynihan. I feel like we can say we had more fun on that call with Michael Moynihan than I think we've ever had. I mean, you could just tell how excited he was about this team, and you can feel it now right here on the Big Ten Network.
Absolutely, and knock on wood, I mean, this team was riddled with injuries and just a ton of adversity that they had to try and weather the last couple of years, and it seems like things are clicking. Players are healthy, they're fit, they are all over the field tonight, and it is a really fun group to watch play.
Wesley. Back to Evans. Good job by Fitzpatrick. Again, Fitzpatrick will play the first half for Michael Moynihan, and then Mia Rabin, the graduate transfer from Wake Forest. Northwestern, not afraid to go long distance when they need to, and looking for the corner kick. Northwestern gets it with some assistance there from Paige Miller. The senior has been good off the bench.
She's brought a little spark up top, and Del Carmen was pretty good up there, but Paige Miller, some fresh legs. She's getting after the back line. She's making it difficult on them.
Josie Alessino, junior from Northville, Michigan. As we mentioned, Northwestern really good on set pieces this year, and that'll go over the crossbar as it finds you-know-who, Rowan Lappy.
Another ball deep into the 6. Rowan Lappy takes some steps back to try and get up and over that ball. Kind of a hard body positioning, be able to take your step back, get up in the air, and then smack it back down. But Rowan Lappy, I've been incredibly impressed with her play in the last almost 45 minutes. I think she's been huge for this Northwestern side. Offensively, defensively, she brings that attitude, that confidence and swagger that this group has been missing. And she's been a lot of fun to watch orchestrate this group.
Could not agree more, Jackie. little over 2 minutes remaining. Montoya had it for a moment, knocked out of bounds. This is where Northwestern needs to manage these final 90 seconds or so, and this is not a way to do it, as an unnecessary foul will give Stanford a chance to get a whole lot of white jerseys in and around the 6. Stanford with a chance to tie it here. They serve it in, and with authority, the freshman Fitzpatrick, as we mentioned, Northwestern came into this with a 176-minute scoreless streak, and they're 45 seconds away from adding 45 minutes onto that scoreless streak defensively, as they've been rock solid with both goalkeepers. Riley Fitzpatrick, this is trouble, and Fitzpatrick will let it roll out of bounds. Good job to pull her arms back, knowing that she can work these final 30 seconds off.
This ball gets floated in by Wesley. It's a great ball in. Maya Doms tries to get on the end of it, and you nailed it. Riley Fitzpatrick reads that perfectly, and that is a mature decision for a freshman to be able to pull her hands back, let that go out of bounds, and kill the clock till halftime.
Count it down, final seconds, and you are seeing it correctly. Northwestern with a
bunch of time so far this game, but this has been a very fun team to watch.
Rowan Lappy with the only goal of the game as the second half is underway, and Northwestern 45 minutes away from taking down Stanford. That is a long way to go, though, against this talented Stanford team. They have to know that, right?
Absolutely, and I think they'll come out exactly as they ended that first half. High press, they were countering quick, they made it difficult on Stanford, but this Stanford team is a very talented team. They're smart, they're savvy, they're going to be able to change some things in the second half.
Doms on the ball. So switch it to the left. Stanford starting the way Northwestern played the entire first half, and that is with a quick interception and running downhill. They reset it. Sometimes you need to go backwards to go forward. Turning on it is Kosmeyer, Lumi Kosmeyer, the freshman. Came off the bench and was dangerous in the latter part of that first half. Really good give and go in the corner. This will essentially be like a corner kick, and it earns a corner kick as it goes off of Lappy. Corner kick Stanford. So Grubel will take the corner for the Cardinal. First time away from the farm this season, and they find themselves down 1-0. Cleared out of there initially by Austin, kept alive by Stanford. Montoya, who has started games for Stanford, as Stanford had some members of the U.S. U20 team away early. And Montoya, not only did she start, she was one of the 4 players that had braces in the first 4 games. 4 different players scoring 2 goals in a game to start the season for Stanford. Good shield by Austin. It'll be a goal kick for Northwestern. Take a look at our State Farm State of Success. Emma Phillips, who was named the Big Ten Co-Defensive Player of the Week with that game-winning goal against DePaul. A fantastic goal, and she had the assist in the shutout win over Xavier off a set piece. A beautiful header finding the talented Del Carmen. Emma Phillips, our State Farm State of Success.
She's a center back in a group of 3 defensively, which is hard enough. But then you add in some attacking goals and assists as well. She's had a big-time start to this season.
50-50 ball. Almost all of those were being won by Northwestern in the first half. Stanford has won the first 2 or 3 here in the second half. Austin. Great 1v1 defending by Austin.
She's got that tenacious mindset about her.
Three Big Ten teams remained unbeaten coming into tonight. Rutgers, Coach Mike O'Neill, 6-0. Maryland, 4 ties and a win, as Mike O'Neill's longtime assistant Meg Nemser getting it done for the Terps in her first year. And Indiana, 3 ties and a win. By the way, for Rutgers, it ties their best ever start to a season. And Northwestern also off to a really good start as well. Second time these 2 teams have met, as it'll be another corner kick. Josie Alessino will take it. Keep an eye on Regazzoni. A little flick right there, and Northwestern thought it went off of Stanford, but the referee does not agree. It'll be a goal kick back to the Cardinal. In for Northwestern, Mia Rabin, a .33 goals against average. She has played the second half of every game this year, replacing Fitzpatrick. Played for Tony DeLuz at Wake Forest, where her brother Sam also played. And she had a sister, Lizzie, who played at Duke. Pretty talented family. Now Northwestern doing more of what they did in the first half. Nobody home that time for Lappy. Paul Ratcliffe won a national championship at UCLA as a sophomore under the legendary Ziggy Schmid, a team loaded with superstars. Sent in, a little bit of collision, and Stanford, a bit of a sitter right there for Lumi Kosmeyer, and she'll miss it.
Northwestern defense a little bit unorganized and disjointed. Win that first initial ball, but then Kosmeyer comes in, no pressure. He's got that sitter. And wants that one back for sure. Just doesn't make great contact, but then hits that off to the left.
Kosmeyer, the 6-foot forward, first-year player for the Cardinal, has been dangerous. She had a shot late in the first half that just missed wide right. That one missing wide left. Lappy sends it forward. Lappy is pushed down. Sierra Angie, the redshirt senior, Pacific Ridge High School in California. This distance has been really good for Northwestern this year. Alessino just serves a lovely ball. Bodie, and it'll be a handball called on Bodie. Stanford, great touch. Played back over, chance to tie it, and right now Stanford getting opportunities, just not shooting on target. Missing that time was Grubel. Paul Ratcliffe, as we mentioned, played at UCLA. That 1990 team, Ziggy Schmid, there's Paul Ratcliffe. Right below him, Brad Frito, Kobe Jones, Joe Max Moore, Chris Henderson. All four of those players played on World Cup teams. And they have more big-time players on that team as well. And Paul Ratcliffe giving Ziggy Schmid a ton of praise. Of course, we lost Ziggy way too early. Ziggy Schmid would go on to win several MLS Cups for Seattle and LA. I think he even won one in Columbus. Running downhill, Northwestern. '90 was Paul's sophomore season. Bodie's had a good game. Meg Bodie, the junior from Lone Tree, Colorado. Colorado has produced some big-time players over the years. It's Paul Ratcliffe looking on, assisted by Melissa Hayes Charlo and Paul Hart, as well as Daisy Sanchez. Michael Moynihan, assisted by Rich Manning and Morgan Rule. Nice touch by Stanford out of the back. Feel like the Cardinals starting to dig in a little.
You do. They're starting to figure themselves out. They're finding that patience and that composure. And they're creating some opportunities. They've had two really clean looks in the last 5 minutes or so that I'm sure that Stanford offense wants back.
Ike. Long run, several players warming up for Stanford. Sent across, and flying in there once again was Kosmeyer, who has been dangerous. Number 33, closing down. As you saw right there, Rabin wanted the whistle.
Kosmeyer's been a handful at the end of the first and in this beginning second half. It's a great ball in, swings right into Kosmeyer's run. And Kosmeyer just can't get that ball down into the back of the net. It's well contested by Mia Rabin, but Kosmeyer just causing all sorts of problems for this Northwestern defense.
So Rabin, second half goalkeeper all season long, and it has been working for Northwestern. Northwestern started the season with a 2-1 win on the road at Kansas State. They lost to a Kansas team that fell to Ohio State, but then smoked SIUE 5-0, tied Oakland, beat DePaul 3-1, and then in their last game knocked off a ranked opponent in Xavier 2-0. It could have been easily 5-0. Sent across as lurking near the near post was Northwestern, putting pressure on Campbell. Great run by Gilbertson.
Great ball in. She slides to save this. Gilbertson makes that near post run. Kind of loses the ball as it's being crossed in. Ryan Campbell does a good job dealing with it.
So yellow card issued. We believe it's Kosmeyer, who has been extremely busy both sides of the ball. She'll come back to try to help protect the Stanford goal on this Northwestern corner kick. 5 corners for both teams. It's a good place to put it. Kept alive by Northwestern. Alessino kept alive. Bodie. Bodie turns. Time. Oh, and just missing for Northwestern was Phillips, who has been so good. The co-Big Ten Defender of the Year because she can score goals. She's got 2 goals and an assist and almost had another one.
You said it, the center back for Northwestern, showing how she can have that quick release on her shot. She has 3 players running at her closing space, and she was able to get that ball off and just missed that right post.
So that yellow card went to Doms, not to Lumi. Apologies to Lumi as Doms gets the yellow card. Here's Montoya. There's Lumi lunging in. She'll get it right back at her feet. Looked like she wanted to crank it, but leaves it. Still loose. Finally, Northwestern safety first right there. Freshman from Connecticut, Lumi Kosmeyer. Kosmeyer trying to run it down. Samantha Williams, Kosmeyer, Sayer, and Montoya, all with braces to start the season. That is so rare to play only 5 games and have 4 players with 2 goals in a game.
We've come out firing so far this season, and hats off to Northwestern, though, because they've done a really good job containing this group. We've seen Stanford slowly start to get themselves in the game, especially in the second half, but Northwestern has done such a good job defensively with this firepower offense.
Alessino. Wonderful job at switching the point of attack from left to right. Gilbertson's, she's got a tremendous engine.
She really does. She has been all over that right side. Great job. She's got a great presence defensively, but she's been on that right flank offensively, getting on line. She's been in the box, and that's what you need to have in your wing players when you're playing this formation. They have to be able to cover ground, and we've seen Haas and Gilbertson do just that.
Little flick, handled by Rabin. Mia Rabin from Denver. 4 years, limited time at Wake Forest. Decided to take her grad year at Northwestern. She's got a .33 goals against average. Fitzpatrick a .67 goals against average. That was the first shot on goal for Stanford, a team that is averaging 15 shots on goal a game coming in. That's how stingy Northwestern has been. Looking to cut it back for the Wildcats is Haas. And Haas will lose it out of bounds. Jackie, Paul Ratcliffe sitting at 399 wins. So he knows a little bit about the game, perhaps more than you and I will ever know. But what do you think they got to do to get back in this game?
I think they've started to figure it out. I think Paul Ratcliffe nailed it when we talked to him at halftime. It was a little chaotic. It was forced. It was too fast. They didn't slow the pace down. They didn't find their midfielders, who are incredibly good on the ball at setting play, and I think we've seen them do even just little sequences like this where they're playing into their midfielders, they're getting it wide, they're trying to break down Northwestern instead of just playing those long balls in. And I think this second half we've seen much more of the the Stanford side that we're used to seeing.
So well said. That was Kitahara who had pushed it out wide. Del Carmen, 2 goals and 2 assists, and really responsible for the only goal of the game by beating 2 Stanford defenders and forcing Brandt to push her down, and number 17, Lappy, finishing from the spot. That's the story of the game. 1-0 Northwestern on top, and less than 28 minutes remaining in this game.
Lappy getting the ball with her back to goal. It's a good job at selling it a little bit just to get that foul. But Great body awareness, a good position to get the ball off of her center back. She, again, has had a very impressive game offensively and defensively. Leadership-wise as well. Her attitude and her eagerness and confidence, you can see, just radiates to the rest of her team.
What a play from Regazzoni. That's a freshman who is playing on the full national team for Switzerland.
And she's just got some length to her. She can toe poke the ball out. She'll turn you.
See Northwestern dropping a little more now, Jackie. I worry about that.
They're sitting a little bit more. They're definitely organized, though. I mean, they're still forcing out. They're getting numbers around the ball and converging quickly, making it hard. I think once Stanford can get themselves settled, Northwestern, you almost have to drop in those lines.
Stanford wins it back. Top of the 18. Loose ball picked up by the Cardinal. Taken right back, though, by Northwestern. Evans. Austin gets her head to it. Great little touch by Haas. Turns it over, though. Always good to find Doms when in doubt. Number 10. Her passing efficiency off the charts. Turned over. Bodie. Stanford with 10 different scores in their 5 games. They've had 16 different players with a point, yet they have only had that one shot on goal. Montoya. Montoya stays with it. Montoya fighting through. Montoya all by herself and cleared out of there by Northwestern. Montoya. Foul called on Stanford. That ball just would not roll out of bounds, and Doucette was kind of flirting there with danger a little bit. Saturday, it's an 8-game Big Ten Network football triple header, including 3 ranked teams in action only on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Go to btn.com/gamefinder for more information. A whole lot of football. We know the Santa Catarina family loves their football.
We are excited for football season, we can say that. Well, my husband is slowly turning my girls into Green Bay fans.
Doms. Kosmeyer has had a long run here in the second half. Doms, almost an own goal right there, but Rabin was ready for it. So Rabin showing some quickness to keep this at Northwestern 1, Stanford 0.
This ball gets floated in. Doms gets on it. Phillips takes it off of her chest. Rabin, like you said, read it well, dealt with it well.
Gilbertson getting ready for the throw-in. Now Northwestern making a change. Coming on is Ingrid Falls, a junior from Lake Forest, Illinois, and Lake Forest High School. There's Gilbertson, 45 assists in high school in Minnesota, still second all-time at her high school. And we mentioned the engine she has playing that wingback. That wingback in this 3-6-1 formation is really every bit as important as those two holding mids.
Absolutely, especially when you're that weak side, because you've got to be able to tuck in and then you've got to be able to join the attack when you start getting forward. And Gilbertson especially, we haven't seen a ton on the left side with Haas, but Gilbertson has been all over the field today.
This is better from Northwestern because there's just way too much time left in this second half to just always kick it long. They need to possess, and more importantly, they need to be thinking about trying to add to that 1-0 lead.
Absolutely. Stanford's pinned them a bit, and they've had a hard time getting things going and getting numbers forward in the attack. We've seen some longer balls to release pressure, but we really haven't seen that interchange and keeping the ball like we saw in the first half, getting up, high pressing them, counter pressing.
Jackie, you can see right there, Michael Moynihan cannot get comfortable, not against this Stanford team, knowing that there's still 22 minutes left. Dobbs, pretty good ball, trying to find Kosmeyer. Cleared out, but won by Stanford. Ike. And it'll fall all the way back to Kitahara. Headed out by Northwestern. One bounce on this artificial turf surface. Spinning was Angie. Rubenstein. Angie. There's the shield. Tremendous 1v1 defending.
Here's a look at Doms on this right side. Does a good job. One times this ball into the box. Phillips with a great header. She gets it up and out right before Kosmeyer was flying in.
Phillips, sophomore from Munster, Indiana. 2 goals and 1 assist as the center back. And that will not cause any problems for Rabin, the second half Northwestern goalkeeper. Phillips, a star for the Eclipse, won the national championship at the club level where she was the captain of the team. That bicycle kick against Kansas State went viral. Sent the team into a frenzy, and she also had the game winner against DePaul. And she had that outstanding assist for the second goal to take care of number 19 Xavier.
Yeah, that might be my favorite one of the bunch. It was a pretty assist.
Your Wildcats. Just that one loss on the road, which is really difficult to go on the road to start the season at Kansas State and at Kansas. They beat Kansas State, and then 3 days later they had to play Kansas. Legs are a little bit tired. They lost that game, but then came back, and since then have outscored the opposition 11-1, including this 1-0 lead right now. Montoya. And Northwestern will let that roll out of bounds. Jackie, for me, Northwestern very much looks like a top 20 team to me, if not even better.
We've got some special pieces at this point, especially with that 3-back. I think Emma Phillips has been big time too. Austin, like you talked about, she's incredibly good on that right flank. Such a hard defender to beat 1v1. And then Doucette, it takes a lot. And it takes a lot of talent and athleticism and fitness to play in a 3-back, and this Northwestern side is doing it well.
So now Stanford will bring on some more subs. Samantha Williams, one of those 4 players that we mentioned that has scored a brace this year, has come on for Paul Ratcliffe, sitting on 399 wins. Gilbertson.
This is where we saw that success in the first half as they've pushed Stanford out wide. They get all their numbers to keep Stanford playing wide, and then they slowly just converge and get numbers around the ball, and then they'll quickly transition into their attack.
Big smile from a big-time talent, Josie Alessino, the junior from Northville, Michigan, South Lyon East High School. She's going to get a rest. I think she'll come back in, though. She is so important. You see those 5 assists this season, leads the Big Ten. Stanford, go ahead, Jackie.
That's also been a key as Stanford center backs setting play, dribbling, taking up space, and causing problems for Northwestern as well.
Stanford has put, just like you said, starting with their center backs, 11, 12 passes together, but that 13th pass not there and cleared out of there by Northwestern. And into space, Northwestern, Paige Miller. Paige Miller, really good coming on late in the first half. Now in the second half, we'll get it back to Gilbertson. Gilbertson, she had some time and space, just missed the touch. One back by Lappy. And look, we started with it. We got to go back to it. Lappy and Regazzoni in the middle of the park where Jackie Manny would sit for Janet Rayfield. They have really got the job done today.
Yeah, you know the way to my heart, Dean. A nice defensive midfield duo. But no, I think they've been so big time, and we've talked about it a couple times, but those two in this formation where you've got only 3 defenders behind you, you have to be on. You have to be in the right spot so that you're screening the line and not letting anything into those front runners. And I think they've done such a good job at establishing themselves physically. They've won balls in the air, but then again, offensively, they've been able to set play, connect, and let their teams go forward offensively.
Gilbertson and Bodie have offered sufficient support to Regazzoni and Lappy. And as you mentioned, Doucette, Phillips, and Austin right in front of Fitzpatrick in the first half and Rabin in the second half. I really feel like these players totally understand their roles, and they stay within those roles, and it's working.
It is. They look very committed to the game plan. And like we talked about, just from them pushing players wide when Stanford's set and play out of the back line and committing to keeping their lines tight. And it's not just keeping their lines tight. You've seen players sliding in. You've seen them all over the place, tackling, winning 50-50 battles. This team has battled so far today. And Stanford, they've made their way into the second half for sure, but Northwestern, still, you've got to tip your hat because they're making it incredibly difficult on the Stanford side.
Shoulder to shoulder. Tremendous work there by Evans to win it. Quickly throws it in. You see the urgency now from Stanford. Big-time academic institutions, big-time soccer programs. Center stage tonight on the Big Ten Network, and Northwestern trying to make a massive statement across the country. If they can hang on to this 1-0 lead, massive might not be a good enough word.
It would be a huge, huge win for this program.
Women's soccer on the Big Ten Network is proudly presented by TIAA, dedicated to equality in retirement, and by State Farm. When you want the real deal, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Northwestern 1, Stanford 0. Foul called against Stanford. It's Amy Sayre. It's Lappy right in the middle of it. Are you with me on the Sam Coffey thing? I mean, Sam Coffey was more offensive, but Lappy finds the camera for a reason.
Yeah, different, but they kind of have the same walk.
I think they have the same number, too. I think Coffey wore 17.
Yeah, they've got a very similar swagger to them.
Speaking of swagger, here comes Doms. Lappy running side by side, but Doms does well to give it up. Stanford can change everything right here, right now. They get it into the 18. Doms mishit it, and now Northwestern can work a little bit more of the clock. Paul Radcliffe. See those 3 stars representing the 3 national championships that he has brought to Stanford in his 20 years. Stanford, of course, also had 6 former players in the Olympics. That included New Zealand's Allie Riley. Plenty of time for the Cardinal. Rubenstein. Rubenstein, that's a great turn. Rubenstein going far post. Lurking there was Ike. On Sunday, don't miss women's soccer as the Huskers take on the Southern Cal Trojans. Coverage begins Sunday at 2 Eastern, presented by TIAA on the Big Ten Network and the Fox Sports app. Southern Cal got 4 players back from the U20 World Cup, and they are a different team than the one we saw open the Big Ten Network season against Purdue. They have been winning games in impressive fashion, as they will challenge Coach Walker and the Cornhuskers on Sunday. 10 minutes remaining in this game, and it's Northwestern 1, Stanford 0. Gilbertson. Northwestern feeling it. Oh, until Carmen trying to find Gilbertson, just a little bit too strong. This will be a long 9 minutes and 30 seconds for the Wildcats as they know what they're about to do. We saw the full moon earlier. Perfect night along Lake Michigan for the team in purple.
This is one of my favorite fields to play at on a night game under the lights with the lake in the backdrop.
You can hear the Northwestern bench saying connect, and that's a good point right there because they had time there to keep the ball. Instead, Stanford gets it right back. They send it right in, and Rabin will let that one head over the crossbar. And you can feel the nerves.
You can, and here's a Dom's ball. It's flighted right into the top of the 6. And Ike just gets underneath that, tries to lift it up and over her defender, but gets too much under it, goes over the crossbar.
Jackie, Stanford came into this week's action with the nation's 4th highest scoring offense in the country at 3.80 goals per game. They were 2nd in the nation in shots per game and leading the country in shots on goal per game. And they have been shut out with 8 minutes and 15 seconds remaining in this game.
And they've created the second half. They're lacking a little bit in their final third play. They've missed some pretty good sitters in the box, but Northwestern, they've had such a good game defensively.
Northwestern has been so disruptive, but all it takes is one moment for the Stanford team. They still have plenty of time. Look at that. Season average almost 15, just one. That 15 leading the NCAA. And Northwestern with the answer defensively. This 3-6-1 formation is so fun to watch. And how about Michael Moynihan telling us that after the game, every coach has said, wow, that formation was really difficult to handle. And having that communication after a win, I think, was fascinating.
Absolutely, and we talked about it with that box in the midfield and then the wingers, and you risk losing a player in the back, but if you're good in the midfield and you can screen that line, you're athletic enough in your back line, it creates a ton of overloads and numerical advantages when you're going forward and you have wingers that can cover ground and get into the attack quickly.
Whistle against Northwestern. Stanford wins it back. Nobody home. Austin on the clearance. Second balls will be critical here in the final 6 minutes. Deflection, and then header one by Northwestern. That's your center forward, Ria Del Carmen, who in many ways is the difference in the game, earning that penalty kick, resulting in the only goal of the game. Rowan Lappy finishing from the spot. Ria Del Carmen, 2 goals and 2 assists. Already matching her goal total from a year ago. She's feisty too.
She is. She's got an attitude about her that has done very well for this Northwestern side, because with all the offensive ability that she's had, she's been really good for Northwestern defensively in that 9 role.
Meg Bodie.
Maybe a little bit earlier, just put it behind him.
Stanford. Is that deflected off of Northwestern? No. No, this is huge. Remember, this happened at 4:45, so we'll see how much time Rabin can chop off here, as every second critical, as Northwestern looking to send a message not only across the Big Ten, but across the country.
Absolutely, and you can tell them to hear everybody counting down, making sure the ref knows how much time is being taken. Some good game management by Northwestern right there.
That was Lappy again winning that head ball.
She has been my favorite player on the field today. I think she's just been a lot of fun to watch, and again, I think her confidence that she's shown today has allowed everyone around her to be confident.
4 minutes remaining. The Cardinal now from the right side. Rubenstein. Alessino. The crowd sensing something special. Del Carmen. You can tell Northwestern is tired. They have given everything and then just a little bit more. Michael Moynihan, I got to give him credit. he gave us a feeling, and then you and I went to work. We watched the Xavier game, and we're like, wait, this team's legit, because Xavier, number 19 in the country, and Northwestern shredded them, and they are less than 3 minutes away from getting a massive win, arguably one of the biggest wins in the history of the program.
I was going to say, it's got to be one of the biggest wins for sure in this program's history. And again, just off of a couple years where they had to deal with a lot of adversity, it's so much fun to see this group again have energy and have that bite to them. And I'm excited to see them keep going through the rest of conference.
Lappy sticking with it. I truly do feel like everything Rowan Lappy does is positive. Even that ball right there, knocking it out of bounds, killing the clock, getting it out of danger, positive.
I couldn't agree more. I think she has been the player for this Northwestern side. And that's among a lot of players that have looked really good and really together throughout this whole game.
Yeah, everybody, even the subs. Solid performance, game plan executed. Referee letting them play as Northwestern 90 seconds away from knocking off the undefeated and number 6 team in the country, a 3-time national champion. Stanford with one final push here. Woo. Nifty little move by Josie Alessino. 3 goals and 5 assists already as they're under a minute.
Some speed left in her too.
Her mom, Tracy, ran cross country at Oakland University. There's Lappy.
Even just that little sliding touch.
40 seconds remaining. Stanford, they still have time here. They send it into the mixer. Goes over Montoya and the Wildcats looking to get back-to-back game-winning goals from Rowan Lappy. Northwestern beat number 6 Penn State in the 2014 Big Ten tournament. And now they will equal that as it counts down here. Northwestern shocks number 6 Stanford